Morning, church. I'm very nervous, so bear with me. Most of you probably already know me. I'm Mariah, for those of you who may not. The mum that pushes that double carriage train pram through the church every Sunday. This morning I'd like to share a testimony with you about my journey to becoming a mum. Mother's Day for me hasn't always been a happy occasion. There were years where it felt like I had this stamp on my forehead that was saying that I wasn't yet a mum, or I was, waiting, that kind of stamp on my forehead. Myself and my husband, Vicky, decided that we wanted to start a family in 2016. A few months after trying, we fell pregnant. We were thrilled. It was around Christmas time, and we decided to announce it to my family on Christmas Day, and it was this huge thing and very, very joyous occasion for us, still one of the most memorable days we've had. A few days later, at only 5 weeks pregnant, I miscarried. It was one of the hardest times for me. And then over the next 3 years, we continued trying to conceive, only to miscarry another 3 times. I entered one of the darkest times of my life. There were days where I wanted to stay in bed all day, days where all it took was looking at me the wrong way and then I would just burst into tears, and days where I couldn't even mutter a prayer. I was broken, I felt lonely, and I was angry. Over the course of this 3 years, I was praying, fasting, and I had a core group of family and friends who were surrounding me doing the same. And the only answer that I kept getting from God was, wait, it will happen. That 4-letter terrible word that we all hate to hear, wait. It wasn't easy. In fact, there were times where I wanted to give up. I felt so angry at God. I wanted so badly to become a mum, and it felt like everybody around me was falling pregnant and had no issues, and then there was me, which couldn't fall pregnant or stay pregnant. But I kept praying and I kept waiting. I knew, and I still know, that all life is given by God, and ultimately it was out of my hands. Looking back now, I know that He never left me. In fact, that He cared so much that every time I was hitting a breaking point, He would speak directly to me through someone else. I was receiving messages from people that I hadn't spoken to in over a year, saying that they were having dreams of me having a child, and they felt like God really wanted them to tell me this. They had no idea what we were going through at this time. A couple years later, at turning point in 2018, after having had 3 miscarriages at this point, I was prayed over by a dear friend. This person who prayed for me had no idea what was going on in my life. In her prayer, she prayed for God to give birth to a miracle in my life. She also said that there was a seed within me and how it can be dormant for many years until the environmental conditions are right or ready for growth. She came up to me after that service and said that when she was praying for me, something had happened to her that she had never experienced before. She said that she felt heat radiating through her arm when she was praying over me and her hand was on my stomach. Again, she knew nothing about what was going on in my life. Things like this is what kept me going. Sharing with a small community of friends and family and having them carry that burden with me made those hard days just a little bit easier. And finally, at National Youth Camp in 2019, I remember feeling really discouraged that weekend. My prayer life felt shallow. I wasn't in a very good place. I was kind of angry at God that I was waiting and nothing seemed to happen. And then on Easter Sunday at National Youth Camp, Brother Victor Jackson preached a sermon called "It is Finished." Towards the end of his sermon, he asked everyone to raise their hands and to see God's hand over your life. He said, God hasn't forgotten His promise, and it will come to pass. At that moment, I saw God's hand come down and touch my stomach. I had a vision at that time of myself and Vicky sitting together with His arm around me as we held our baby. I heard God speak to me. It is finished. The wait is over. A month later, after a 3-year wait, we fell pregnant with our son, Jediah. God is faithful, and He is not slack on His word. I encourage you, no matter what you're going through, whether similar or different, to leave it in the hands of the one who cares so deeply about you. The fact that the God of the universe cares so much about me to speak directly to me In my darkest days, using people around me, that's what kept me going. The days were long, the trials seemed endless, but God had a purpose and a plan for all these things. Because of what I went through, I've now been able to witness to friends of mine who have encountered similar heartache. God will use your pain as a means to reach others. We named our son Jediah because of the Hebrew meaning, which is God knows. God knew where I was at every step of the way. He saw me, he heard me, and he healed me. I now have 2 beautiful children who remind me of God's promise and faithfulness. God knows who you are. He knows where you're at. There is nothing that touches your life that hasn't already been through the sovereign hands of God. Trust him and don't lose hope. Thank you.